Welcome to the Soul Signal podcast with Danielle and Veronica. Tune in and remember.
Sometimes I think I just like to light shit on fire. I'm excited. I know there's always so much to discuss, especially with spiritualism and teachings and learnings. I think this is just a really good subject to touch on because we're both excited about it at this time.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about NDEs, you guys. Like the idea of, well, I guess the original definition would be the near-death experiences. And I spoke with you recently about how my spirit guides were talking about the next developmental experience. And then I think I had explained my idea or the reason why I thought of that. Often we can even go through something and we'll look back and be like, gosh, that wasn't me. I don't know who that was. I don't know who that person was, or gosh, why did I choose to be with that person? Or why was I in that job for so long? Like, that just isn't me. Because sometimes I feel there's a version of us that has to let go or move on in order for the next soul fragment to step in to experience. But I also know that the version that I once was would not have made the choices that I am making today. So I think that really helps me ground that understanding, or how they tried to define that to me, is like the next development in your experience.
Yes, I agree with that. I think I mean, and this could just be, through experience or like what's coming to me in my head right now is maybe there are fractals of ourselves that sign up for bits and pieces of that lifetime to experience those densities, those experiences, those not so good like tragedies that we go through.
I definitely agree. Often NDEs I hear from people who have like personal health issues or personal choice concerns, people who continue making a decision that they really need to change or break free from in order to step into that next version of self. But I'd like to clarify, I believe I went through an NDE as a mother. I had a C-section. It was very scary. Um, there were a lot of other signs that had paralleled that reality for me. I understood this is where I am. My husband was just in a state of shock and trauma. He was shaking, he was pale. It was very quick. It was supposed to be a normal birth, and it turned into an emergency C-section. The cord was wrapped around her neck, and every time I had a contraction, both of us, like, I would just feel like I was draining. And I would get really tired, and they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Because unfortunately, I feel like as people were kind of tuned into like, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm just going to keep going, keep going, keep going." So I kept saying I was fine, and my husband started showing like physical concerns for me. He started shaking and started trembling, and he was even asking them, "Is she okay? Is she okay?" Because I obviously was not okay. There was something going on with my body, and we had to rush into an emergency C-section to save both my daughter and myself. And I think I was telling you earlier, I noticed after the fact, all of this went wrong. I noticed after the experience that all of this had happened, looking back at with a new eyes and ears, I could then understand why things had happened the way that they did. Dare I say, I was not very spiritual before all that. And after all this happened, when my daughter came through, I thought she was the spiritual one. I was like, is she making all of this happen? She probably had help or probably did
Yeah.
help during all that. But I do know that there was some level of like death I had to go through. I ended up going through anesthesia. I passed out on the table, and I came back and they were like, "Oh, there she is." I was like, and my second C-section was perfect. It was, and I'm a surgery specialist, so I understood the difference after the fact. The first surgery I had, it was traumatic. The first surgery I had was really horrible. One of the ways I knew, when I was coming back and they delivered us to the room, I was physically shaking. Like my body was trying so hard to ground, and like I just couldn't. I was so afraid to hold the baby. I was afraid to drink water. I was afraid to kiss my husband. Like there was something in me, and I was like, I'm not acclimated. I'm not acclimated. After all that, I feel like it took a few years for me to realize, like, I'm living a new version of life. And all the things I was doing, it wasn't working out. And every time I was trying to repeat what I'd done before, it fallen apart. Or like relationships just weren't going to continue anymore. And all the things that I used to do, I just wasn't interested in anymore. It was a huge, like, I think I called it a dark night of the soul. It was just this
Yeah.
expression of like everything I once was no longer, it was existing. And it was
Yeah.
just, I think, shocking. I think those NDEs come over as such a shocking, like trying to still ground everything that had happened. I don't think you can. I think a lot of that
Yeah.
energy has to stay suspended. Maybe it's
Yeah.
a dimensional like thing.
Yes. And you know what else I'll say? I believe that, I watch a lot of these NDE stories and I see patterns within every story. Every story has like a certain pattern or like a kind of like correlation to something similar to each story. Yes, the experience is different and they all have their own way of how they perceive, the afterlife or wherever they go. And so I think there's a pattern where, most of these people are going through like pivotal points in their life, or there's just like a huge transition, or they're stubborn and they have, and there's no way to get to them to make them realize, hey, there's so much more than what you're thinking or what, people want to end their lives or, et cetera, whatever it is. There is like some kind of similarity, don't you think?
Agreed. 100% agreed. That pattern of choice. Huge,
Hmm.
huge.
And I watch a lot of these. I could binge watch all of this for like all day. And as a matter of fact, I was watching one this morning that I shared with you, and
And I
um
too binge watched that. I was like, oh my God.
Yes. I mean, they just captivate us and it really kind of, and I always try to tune in to like, the messages that, that woman received were so profound. And I was like, wow, like that was channeled message for sure. That was, something of a higher power relaying those messages to her. And so I do also want to share an experience, if that's okay. I I have not had a near death experience, but I did have something happen while someone was dying, and I will kind of go into detail about it. I had recently lost my aunt, I want to say 7, 8 months ago, I think about. And I was always like with her in our relationship, she always supported my spirituality stuff, my woo-woo stuff. Every like event that I had, I, invited her and she was always open to learning and like being experiencing like what I think about, energy and manifesting and really kind of just opening ourselves up to like something other than church or Catholic kind of things. And so because that's how she was raised, and so she always supported, always wanted to join, always was willing to learn from me. And I remember that we had a specific conversation. This was, I don't know, 5 months maybe before she passed. I would always tell her like, hey, we don't die. We always, continue to go on. We just transition to like a different dimension or a different place, but our energy never dies. And so I remember that specific conversation. And so, said that, fast forward, she ends up in the hospital. She has a mini heart attack, and I take her to the emergency room because that's what the urgent care had suggested. And I go and I take her and I wait, and I can't go in the emergency wait room because it's too packed. So I wait in the car, I'm waiting. Then she calls me and they're like, "Oh, they're admitting me." And I'm like, "Okay." And so she gets admitted. I go home. The next morning, she calls me and she's like, "They're about to do, a surgery on me to open a heart valve for me to put, I think it was like some kind of catheter or something.
A stent.
So yeah, to prevent a stent. There you go, to prevent blood clots from forming. And they gave her medication to, you know, as one does after a mini heart attack. And so um, everything's fine. I'm like, okay. And she said they're about to do surgery on her the next day. Okay, next day happens. Um, I hug and I kiss her, and I'm in the room and I tell her like I will be back. I had the day free, and I will, wait for you until you're done. The nurse assured me that it was a very, easy procedure. And so I was like, okay. And so she sent me to go get some essentials for her for after the surgery. And I said, okay. Prior to that, she told me that she had a dream, or she was sensing or hearing her husband in the hallways. And she said that she heard him talking to the nurses. And then she said she kind of like officially fell asleep. And then, she sent me for the essentials. I go, I come back. The doctor's calling me. I'm like in the parking lot. And he's like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I am in the parking lot." And he's like, "We just want to let you know that your aunt has, her heart has stopped during surgery, and um, that she basically has been without oxygen for, I think it was like 15 minutes prior to that time." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm panicking. I'm talking to the angels. I'm, talking to Archangel Michael. I'm just calling everybody to go assist her as I'm like frantically
Right.
panicking."
Right.
Yeah, and I'm running. I run to the front of the hospital, and the doctor was like, "You can come up." And so like he gives me clearance to go to the emergency where they're doing the surgery on her. And so I go, and I'm seeing her lay in this bed, and the first thing that comes to my mind is NDE stories. NDE stories, you know exactly what's going on, Veronica. And I was like, okay. So, so I go into the emergency room, and I'm holding her hand, and I'm telling her, "I know that you can hear me. I know." And I'm just screaming this, okay? All the nurses and all the doctors are just kind of like looking at me. I'm like not screaming, but like loudly saying, "I know that you can hear me. I know you can see me and you can hear me. Please come back. Please come back." And I'm like bawling, but I'm like, using my voice. And mind you, she had gone without oxygen after that time, 20 minutes, I believe. And they were kind of telling me there's like no point in doing
Yeah, I
CPR.
like to say medically,
Yeah.
it's at that point, it's
Yeah. And you are a nurse, right? Or you were a nurse?
in the medical field for over 20 years. At
Yeah.
20 minutes, I mean, it's 7 minutes is the cutoff. After
Yeah.
7 minutes, yeah, if a patient is under anesthesia and they go out for under 5, it's a concern, and we're watching them. Because that, again, that is not normal. That doesn't normally happen. Surgery is
Mhm.
so common, it's so regulated at this point. I totally believe your doctors when they had said that it was just supposed to be a routine procedure and it wasn't supposed to be that big of a deal. But please continue.
But I believe maybe her body couldn't sustain maybe the surgery or maybe the anesthesia. I'm not sure what it was, but we're at this point. They're trying to tell me like call it, and I was like, no, I want to keep going. And the doctor was very nice. and was like, okay. And so they do keep doing compressions on her. I'm watching them do compressions. I'm losing my shit, I'm just bawling my eyes out. I'm like panicked. I haven't felt that sensation in such a long time, mind you. And so I'm telling her, you need to come back to your body. Come back to your body now, please. Come back. Mind you, okay, 20 minutes, 20 minutes pass,
Mm.
and they get a pulse after I said that. After I'm just saying this over repeatedly in the emergency room, they get a pulse and they're like, okay, she's back. We need to continue surgery. They're like, and the doctor pulls me aside and says, hey, I need you to sign these papers because she might have brain damage. She might be incubated. She might have, all these things. And we need to test her afterwards when she wakes up from surgery. I said, okay. And so I'm like, thank goodness. I'm thinking we're in the clear. She got a pulse. They continue to do the surgery. And, um, you know, I go to the waiting room and I'm waiting. And what? I want to say 7, 8 minutes pass. I'm down there. I'm like, thank you, angels. Thank you, this and that. And again, I hear an alarm go off and they said, code blue, blah, 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 in whatever room. And I see the doctor and I'm like, please do not come and talk to me. Please do not come and talk to me. And he comes running down and he's like, her heart has stopped again. So I go back up to the room and I'm, um, you know, going back this time. I don't go and I hold her hand or brush her hair or any of that. I'm like in the window where you can just see everything happening. And I'm just talking to her in my head. And I'm like, it's okay. You can go. I understand. You want to go. It's, because to me, spiritually, I'm thinking she doesn't want to stay here anymore. And we all totally understand this density, this plane. There's so much pain. And I'm pretty sure, she was going through a lot. And so I told her, in my head, it's okay, you could cry. And I was telling her in my head, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I was just emitting this love in the room with her. And I was envisioning it. And I was just telling her, like, I love you. I love you. And you can go. I understand. And from that point on, the doctor said, we need to call it. And I said, okay. And so I agreed at that time. And I was just like, it's fine, And obviously, yes, I was bawling my eyes out. I was like, oh my God. Like, I was a little bit upset at the angels and everybody. I was like, why would you do
I
this?
told
Like,
you.
I was upset and I was like, oh my God, like, why would you do that to me, And, but I was in that moment, I was just in these emotions that I wasn't really seeing the clearer picture, So I understand now.
Mm.
And so I I go after they call it, and they're done resuscitating her. She's just laying in the bed. I go close to her and I'm talking to her because I'm like, she's still in between realms. Like, her heart, I can see the monitor. Her heart was still kind of palpitating, but very like seldomly, like slow, slow, slow. And I was just telling her, thank you. Thank you for supporting all my journey. Thank you for being there for me. I love you. And, I was, now I'm gonna cry. And I was just telling her how much I loved her and that I appreciated her following everything that I did, with spirituality and like my journey and stuff. And, just stroking her hair. And I was like, I'm holding her hand and I saw when her heart stopped completely and I saw no more beats. And then she went, and like the last breath happened. And I was like, and I was there to see it. And yeah, I just hugged her and I was continuing to like caress her hair and I felt complete because I felt like I was very happy that I got to see her in those last moments, experience the truth of, you know, um, the transition.
How energy might leave the body but never disappear.
Yes. And so that moment when her pulse came back, and I'm like, I know that gave me like a 1,000% confirmation of this reality. Um, every, them hearing us and listening to us, and really they're there and they're listening, and I got like a big confirmation through that, and that's my story.
I love
And
that. Thank you for sharing so much. You got me to cry. I'm sure everyone else is gonna cry. It's
yeah.
really hard to go through these NDEs. And I was writing something down while you were speaking. Dare I say, we both had to look back on this. And so if you're looking back in your life and you're noticing these ungrounded, like foggy moments, it might not be that you had an NDE, but you might be experiencing additional energetic, dare I say, interferences. Sometimes these things have to come through in a way that we don't understand yet. These
Yeah.
souls, where they're going and how they're serving humanity as a species, and even Gaia and her energy. A lot of our living relatives become better at helping in the spiritual end than they ever did in the physical. And so sometimes I believe our closest loved ones becomes our best spirit guides, right? And so maybe she was able to help you energetically on a spiritual end 10 times more. Who knows? Maybe she brought us together
Yeah.
than being in the physical. In the physical, we're so limited. And maybe that's also understanding too, because a lot of these experiences, I don't think we have to die to maybe transition or expand or move on. Even in dreams, I've noticed a lot of things happen in dreams where I deja vu past lives or deja vu other energetic expressions that sometimes wasn't fully developed or understood by human. And I think maybe the spirit world helps humans now try to understand the missed spots or misunderstandings from what happened before that they didn't get to experience or they didn't get to finish. And so maybe those other passed on loved ones get to finish those energetically more profound, like they get to do like two birds, one stone kind of vibe.
Yeah, and I also was thinking about it too, because I'm after the fact, I was really trying to focus on the whole point of view, and the whole experience of like her, and how she came into my life, and everything. And I was also thinking about her contract. Maybe we all have exit points that we can choose to leave, once we think we're complete, or we want to redo this all over again. I do believe full-heartedly that we choose exit points, and I believe that this was one of her exit points, and she chose to utilize it.
I think that's a good thing to bring up. Exit points, they're just energetic pivot points. And even NDE, you don't have to leave Earth to make a transition or to make a difference.
Mhm.
There's a lot of spirit guides saying, especially, and I don't mean this in a specific way, like especially religious impressions, they will carry a specific belief or a specific idea throughout their whole timeline. Not that it's wrong or that it's misaligned, but sometimes the idea of changing your perspective or changing your point of view might help you understand the whole story instead of just how you've been looking through a window.
And I think maybe that's why people have these experiences. Like they have
Mm,
to be so profound for you to believe it, for you
hmm
to move on to that next point in your life, you know?
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always have to be so negative or so compressive. People can often make a pivot or transition in moments of excitement or new journeys. But I have heard often the guides and God talk a lot that humans, we like to stay stuck and we often only change in discomfort. So if you're noticing you're having to only make changes out of discomfort, push yourself this month, push yourself next month, and make a couple changes out of optimism. Maybe we can get out of that stuck. It needs to be negative in order to change cycle.
Yep. I
Mhm.
agree with that too. I think how you said, like, we are always in, what is the word here? We're not used to change. There you go. We're not used to change. And every morning we have a routine. We're used to routine. We're trained to have a routine, to have it be a certain way. So how about this? Like, how about instead of waking up and grabbing your phone, like do something different, and see what happens. Let's see if it shifts something.
And like play with it. Pick up your phone a couple days and then don't pick up your phone.
Yeah.
And then maybe journal what you're noticing. Because I believe that is the idea. Like it's your what you're paying attention to that
Mhm.
allows the impression of life to last, your memories and what you look back on. And so maybe the idea is you're not paying attention to some of the
Yeah,
things that might need to change or pivot.
absolutely. I do.
I wanted to bring up a topic about death and spirituality. I've noticed I am around a lot of death since I was a very young
Mhm.
human, and I have always just kind of understood death. But let's answer that question first. How do you feel about the connection between death and spirituality? Do you think that it's a necessary?
Um, well, because we don't die, so I can't say no. I'm gonna say no. I don't think so. I think energy and spirituality are connected.
Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. I think maybe, or transition and spirituality, there is definitely a correlation.
I think that's a good way to rephrase that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I've just noticed often throughout my timeline, I've been surrounded with lots of transition periods, mainly on holidays or birthdays. So every holiday, we've had a very close family member pass or transition. My birthday, I've had loved ones transition. So I also want to say, because that my grandmother died on my birthday, and I believe my grand, ooh,
It's okay.
I believe my grandmother handed me my son on my birthday the
Yeah.
same day she died.
Yeah.
So sometimes, sometimes I think they can leave their spiritual tag or their spiritual essence on the patterns that we get to create.
Mhm. And that very may well be what happened. You know, they're always with us, and I know you already know this, but for the viewers too, our loved ones, yes, they transition, but they're always with us, and sometimes we can't see them, and they're always trying to send us signs and signals. And like how you said, yes, maybe she did help you receive your baby, you know. But if you felt that full-heartedly, I would say yes.
Hmm. Because a lot of these things that we are understanding or coming to a remembrance or even trying to ground, it's how do you feel about it? How do you think that that fits into your reality? And how does that define for you? Because every 10 years, your perspective could shift on that as
Yeah.
well. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes that is the biggest lesson, a
Yeah.
longevity.
And I also think how you were talking about, I've also had a lot of transitional points in my life where um, I was always rebellious when I was younger. I did so many things, and I look back on it and I'm like, wow, like I did not understand any of this. Like I had no idea, now that I look back on it, and I am very much impressed on the human that I am today. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it has to be that way. We chose it, we chose those experiences for a reason, and I do believe that they can only really help you elevate. Any experience can only help you elevate based on your perception.
When you want
When-
to listen, when you want to pay attention, when you feel like you're worth the change, when you feel like you can make a change, or one of the biggest things I say, your memories, when you're looking back at 30 years, what do you remember? In the next 30 years that you are living, what do you want to look back on? And sometimes, if you just have a different perspective, it could shift the way you make choices, you think about your day, you plan 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel that in my heart about, um switching your belief system, your perception on how you view life and your experiences. So I really hope that someone could, take that and put it in their pocket and use it for later if they need.
Yeah, yeah. I do think that there's a lot of expansive energies or understandings that a lot of us are going through as human. And so just a reminder, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with your process. It's not linear. And
Yeah.
evolution is going to go at your own pace. And so don't let your fire signs rush you
Yes.
because
And
we all have a placement there.
we do. And I know this podcast is about, NDEs, but it also, I did want to share our experiences. And even though mine was an NDE, it was something similar, and
I
that,
think yours is definitely NDE
yeah,
energy because the what we were watching, she was talking about the cord and she has the choice to come back or
yeah,
not. And I
yeah,
think you brought up the perfect correlation marker, the idea of exit points, being
yeah.
able to make that choice.
Mhm.
But I definitely think yours
Okay.
correlates. Yeah,
But yeah,
100%.
yeah, it is. I was really like astonished, honestly, when I experienced that. I was like, wow. And the fact that the doctor even let me go into the room, and he's like, I could get fired for this. Yeah, so that
But
was
like,
really,
what else do you do when someone's loved one is on the table? And
right.
like, we're having to tell you that their heart is no longer. And so, like, everyone is going to have a different, like, grieving
Mhm.
process and like allow that to take its pace, but also don't our loved ones don't want us to look back and like be sad. They want us to look
Yep,
back and like think about the happiness that we
absolutely.
can remember them on because
Mhm.
the when you're bringing in that sadness, you're literally sending them that sadness.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
it's really important for you to send them peace on their journey because they're not done. They're not dead. They've just literally transitioned that energy form and they're still very hardworking, if not more on the
yeah.
other side because we're
Oh,
so
yeah.
limited. And so like send them peace, send them love, send them healing too because they're like us, they're not done.
Exactly. And bringing that back to we're all energy, we all just go back to being energy towards the end of this experience. And, we all forget, we all forget that we're energy, we're light, we're light. And, so I think, like how you said, remembering the happy moments and that literally shifted instantly for me after her passing. I was like, I'm not sad. I am going through um I'm analyzing everything honestly at this point. And this was the first death, I will say. This is the first death that I can view it at this point because I haven't had a death in my family for such a while. Um
Wow.
After being awakened and knowing what I know now, I haven't had one. So this one really hit me a little bit different, but it is I had to really analyze everything. And I did not choose sadness. I chose how you said love, and I chose to understand her perspective and her decision. And yeah, she came to me in a dream not too long ago and visited me, and it was just the most craziest experience. There was no way that that could have been a dream because it was so vivid. I felt her presence on the side of me, and it was in my living room in my home that she's never been in.
Well, yeah, she has.
Well,
She's
I
with you
mean
every
spiritually,
day.
spiritually, but it wasn't. She's never, when she was alive, she never really got to come and hang out yet, and so yeah, definitely uh viewed it as in a different perspective. And I'm happy. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for I know that she can guide me now on the other side even 10 times better than what she could here.
Well, we love
And
that for you because you are going places. You are an amazing person. You've got a wonderful spiritual ability, and you're going to do some great, great things. And God knows, she's definitely cheering you on.
yeah, absolutely. And you too. Your grandma's there, always with
Hmm.
you. And I know, all of our loved ones, for all the viewers watching, are always with us, and they're always continuing to help guide us, whether it be in dreams, whether it be, in signs and symbols, because they're always continuing to let you know that they're there. So just
Hmm.
listen to the call, listen to to the
Call them
messages. Sometimes we
forward.
bypass them too.
Yeah, ask them to come and see you. Ask them to come and visit you. Often I see my loved ones and clients' loved ones in dreams. They call it the waiting room in between. And so a
Yeah.
lot of times you can be having these conversations or these visitations from your loved ones every night.
Yeah.
Just tap
Yeah.
in.
So so we'll leave it with that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching us. And there will be so much more episodes coming. So much. We'll have some special guests coming too. We want to plan that. And so I am super
If
honored that you've made
if
it this
you
far in
want
our
to be on
podcast.
the podcast and you have something to share, please reach out. We'd love
Yes.
to have a
Yes.
conversation,
That
spiritual
was the other thing.
conversation.
If you guys have any questions you want us to answer or kind of talk about, please, we can you can either put it on the YouTube or in the chat or send us a DM. We'd be more than happy to kind of bring those up. And so, yeah, thank you for watching us. We are excited to continue to dish these podcasts out. I send all you so much love.
Bye.